Hello, I'm Unbound Sage, and welcome to another video. Today with me, I have a special guest from the Pantheon, right, from a Hivemind here, who has some pretty strong takes on monetization and other parts of the game. So I'll let them introduce himself. Mathurian, go ahead.
Hello, everyone. This is Mathurian, also
Mathurian.
known as Mac or Math, or pretty much respond to whatever. So yeah, I thought Sage did a phenomenal video, like actually being the guy to go out there and say, hey, you know what? Fine, I'm going to take this challenge. I'm going to create a mock-up. So great work, 10 of 10, no notes, except I also have like 1,000 notes. But you should go watch that video before or as you watch this, because I'm going to reference it a lot.
Right, and one of the weaker points I have is monetization, because I don't really play a lot of gotchas. I played maybe like 4 or 5, honestly, and I don't really spend in them. And so, I know that you plan to spend a bit, and it sounds like you have done this before with other gotchas. So go ahead and give the people your core tenets on how you view spending in these games.
All right, so well, first I'm going to talk a little bit about kind of how I approach monetization generally. So the interesting thing is, I don't actually play that many games. I'm like a one game at a time guy, and I take breaks between them sometimes just because I have 2 small kids, et cetera, et cetera. I'm really proud of having gotten 6th, particularly as someone who intends to spend a lot in the game. I feel like that gives me, oh, you're just a spender. It's like, no, man. I was there at the beginning. I know how to play this game. But that is still qualitatively different from someone who got first, right?
Sure.
Like, you got one of the places everyone was competing for. I placed highly after a lot of people took their foot off the gas, you know? And so same thing, right? Like, I don't think it's bragging for you to say like, hey, I got first. It's like, hey, this is my credential. This is why you should listen to me, So the way I approach these games, I am a fairly competitive guy, actually, and I don't live a life structured in a way that I get to be competitive in very many arenas, nor that I actually have enough time to be competitive at the highest levels in almost anything. But I do live a life where I have a reasonable amount of spending money by most standards, at least. And so I can't spend the most money or the most time or have the most knowledge in the game. But if I can get myself to like top 90, 95% in each of those, then I can be one of the top players in the game. And that's my goal. So that's why I love starting games when they launch or like in early access. So I'm not losing ground on people.
Yeah.
I've been saving for this game for almost 2 years now.
That just was announced, basically, right?
Yes, pretty much, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and so the only real gotcha I've played before, in any serious way, is Raid. I did play it for several years and spent probably about what I will spend on this game, which is about $400 to $500 a month.
Okay.
I had not saved up for that game. This game I've saved up a little over 10K already.
Okay. Yeah.
It'll be, a couple thousand more by the time it launches finally, even if it launches on time.
Yeah.
So I don't have a typical Kraken mindset exactly, like, oh my gosh, but I do have the mindset of a medium high whale who optimizes like a non-spender. Like, I didn't spend that much money on shards in Raid. I spent a lot on energy because I felt like that was better value. Things like that. So I do think of it I approach it from like an optimization standpoint, even though optimizing with spending a bit. So that's kind of my approach to the game.
Okay, yeah. So you're going to be a big spender, right? You're going to be this sounds like you have a lot of money up front to spend, and then if the game goes well and you're happy with it, sounds like you're willing to spend 500, 400, 500 a month on it, right? That's pretty big spending compared to some people, right? Like,
yes, it's big. It's like anything in life. The further you go down a rabbit hole, the more you know how far the rabbit hole goes, right?
Yeah.
The guy who spends 500 on golf clubs thinks he spends a lot. The guy who spends 6,000 knows that somebody else spends 50,000. You know what I mean? So there's always you're always hesitant to be like, I spend a lot. It's like, well, I know some people who make what I spend like a joke, but compared to the average in general, yes. And I will pretty much guaranteed spend that in Godforge for at least a year. I mean, I believe in the team enough to just give them that much. I'm not even going to consider whether this is the game for me until it's existed for a year. Like,
that's very nice, because that aligns with its global launch, right? Because we're having this early access, which if you hear Simon talk, he's very upset. He's not upset, but he's very concerned with, oh, I wanted to put so much more in, but he's been advised to just do this early access. But it sounds like you are one of these people that are like, hey, I'll hear you out, man. Like, I'll wait for global, right? I'll wait for maybe a couple updates after global, and take another look at the game state after that.
So actually, this is something I was going to talk about later, maybe, but we'll talk about it right now, which is obviously he's of course going to have some kind of concerns, even if he's super proud. This is his baby, right?
Yeah.
And I hear other people from time to time, oh man, this is bare bones, this, that, the other. I have heard mostly positive from this community, but you do hear it here and there.
Yeah.
So my theory is always this: normally, like, we would not even know Godforge existed at this point. Like, no one would have seen it outside the studio. No one would know anything about it. All these decisions where people are like, oh, are you doing the world boss right? Which is fine. Love it. Love the discussion. But, like, we're getting input at a stage that we wouldn't even know the game existed normally.
Yeah.
Right? The only legitimate comparison point we have for Godforge, where we can actually say, let's compare Godforge to X, is the alpha. And if I compare the alpha for Godforge to a alpha for any other game, it blows it out of the water from what I've seen.
Yeah.
So therefore, to me, the one actual comparison point they've had has gone over incredibly well. And so I feel like I'm not in the business of trying to compare a pre-early release game directly to full release games,
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I think that makes perfect sense. Right. I am not concerned either. Right. I'm very happy with it. Right. They've defined it as the minimal they expect for a game. Right. They defined it as this. Hey, this is what needs to be in the game for the game to function, for the game to feel good. And if it launches with that, sure, it's bare bones and basics. But I'm excited for it too, because I think a lot of the draw of the game is the heroes and mythos and stuff, right? And that will be in the game. The feel will be there. The epicness of the situation will be there. So I'm happy to hear that, because there are a lot of people that are concerned, right? There are a lot of people that are like, well, how is this different from any other gacha, right? But the difference is the community has a take on what it will be, right?
Yeah, well, that's the thing, right? If you told me, let's just say we were comparing. If you told me today, hey, Simon and his team doing their very first game are going to launch a game, and on early access, it's going to be 75% as good as Raid.
Yeah.
I'm going to say, sounds amazing. I trust that team. If they can do that on their first game and by early access, they can get it there, they're easily going to, a year in, have passed it. And even you talk about the mythos, which is amazing, but I mean, the ultimate system is a innovation, right? The mastery system, I don't know if that'll be an unlaunch, but that's an innovation.
Yeah, it won't be on the MPA or the early access, the MVP, but it's coming, right? It'll be there.
I mean, the way they did their alpha, right? Like having a totally separate game mode that takes you through an abbreviated version of the whole core loop is an innovation within the genre. The way they are doing story is an innovation within the genre, right? Like, I mean, I feel like they already have announced a number of innovations in the genre and demonstrated several of them. So,
yeah, I completely agree. I think the biggest thing is the ultimate system with this setup, right? We see ultimate systems in other style of gachas, but the difference is with this gacha genre, when you play Raid, the turns become very cyclic. Like, okay, my ability's coming back up. That means the opponent's going to have their ability up, and that means like there's going to be a powerful round, and there's going to be a bunch of basic abilities. But with the ultimate system, it breaks that cycle, right? Of like it's kind of like off axis of the turns, and so because of that, there is less, there's less patterns in the battle, right? You have more ability to see the for it to be different, for it to be unique, for it to require player thought and input. So I agree. The ultimate system is amazing.
Two separate axes instead of just this one speed axis. You have speed over here, initiative over here, interacting with each other but separate.
Yeah, and I totally 1000% agree with that. So is there so I have a few questions about monetization now, right? About this is obviously, as Simon has said, it's just the nature of the beast. There will be different value packs, right? So I'm sure there'll be like a $10 pack that's like, to get people to spend their first dollar or like whatever. There'll be like these mid-rangey like $20 to $50 packs that are really high value that are for after you spend your first dollar. But obviously, if you add that up, that's like 75 bucks tops, right? So how do you feel knowing that your first $7,500 are really valuable, and then after that you lose value on your money as you spend more until you wait for new packs to come out?
Yeah. So I will get deeper into that a little later, but
Okay.
I love it. I think it's exactly the right way things should be, actually.
Okay. Yeah,
So
that's
you said at the beginning of your video, right, that like Simon talked about, we're a business, we need to make money. We don't want to feel predatory. We'd love input on what an ethical sales model is like, and that's what prompted your, like, hey, I'm going to
yes.
take that as a challenge.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to give some ideas for that, right? Um, and I love it. I totally agree with you. Um, so the interesting thing is on that. So just as an example, on that screen of your video was some of the comments that Simon was answering, right?
Yes.
And even there, they had two things on that screen, one of which I agreed with, one of which I disagreed with. So one of them they said, oh, hidden costs are terrible. 100% agree. One of the worst things. Transparency is a keystone of Fateless's approach in just like game development, and I really hope that transparency in pricing is as well. The other thing the person was complaining about is I don't like fantasy currency that like you know hides the real cost of things, which I do get that is a thing, right? That like, hey, we spend in rubies, and all of a sudden people are like, it's just rubies, it's not money, and there is a psychological component to that. But I actually think you have to have that because if you don't, spoiler, we'll get to a little bit later, but I think basically everything you can buy for cash, you should be able to buy for rubies. Right? So there
Okay.
should be nothing that's or nothing that's non-cosmetic that should be locked behind cash. You can only get this if you spend. Right now, as a free to play, if you get, a small number of rubies coming in, maybe it's not practical for you to save up some huge number of them. You have to save your rubies for like 2 months to get this thing if you want to buy it with rubies, but you can. Right? It's not like I can never have this. If I make this my number one priority, I can never have it. Right?
So you're saying that like, hey, you should be able to buy like yellow shards, yellow
Yep.
ether stones in the ruby shop.
Yeah, they'll be expensive. You won't be able to get them very often, but if
Yeah.
that's the way
Yeah.
you want to
Yeah.
spend the rubies, yes.
Okay. Okay.
Nothing
Hmm.
that way, nothing is gated, right? Because that goes back to the idea of spending lets you get things faster, not get different things. And they've talked
Yeah.
about that a little bit, right? Lets you
Yeah.
progress faster in the game, lets you get more of things on a quicker pace. But it's not like, oh, we have this little corner over here. This is the spenders only corner.
Okay.
It's like, hey, this is the primarily spenders corner, but you can save up enough rubies if you want to, if that's the corner you want to go hang out in. You know.
Yeah. And so, for instance, I imagine that we will get ether stones, from the clan boss, right, or from other high level content, because that's just how it works in raid, right? Is
Yeah.
you push the highest level. So if they don't have it in the shop, are you okay with free to play players only source of sacreds or the equivalent, right? What are they? Flawless, I think. Flawless ether stones being from the clan boss, because that's still acceleration, right? Like when you go and you buy an Aetherstone pack, right? It's putting you ahead like a week, right? Because I get like one yellow a week, right? And so, but does it for you? Does it strictly need to be bought with rubies, or is it okay if there's a reasonable place to farm it?
Um, so it's okay with me either way.
Sure.
If I was them, I probably wouldn't have a place to farm it because that is uh, one of the things people spend the most money on, basically.
Well,
And so,
it'd be like a
you know,
daily thing, like just like in in Clan Boss and Raid, where it's like you have to hit Ultra Nightmare, and then you have like a whatever percent chance to get a sacred, right?
oh yeah, that's great. I think that's good. I mean, I think that's a great system, and you could have a couple
Yeah.
places like that. Even when you say farm, I'm thinking like
Okay.
I can put my energy into
You
this
can
and
put
get
your
some.
energy into it. Yeah, I see
Yeah,
what you're
no, I'm
saying.
totally fine with having Hand Boss give that. I'm fine with having, you know, their equivalent of Hydra or Faction Wars or whatever. I mean, I'm
Sure.
fine with however they want to do their things, and we'll talk a little more later about kind of generosity and how they should run that.
Sure.
But the next thing you said, which I totally agree with, right, is, hey, I hope this game does amazing and they all make a ton of money and they're all millionaires. Love it.
Yeah.
Now it's interesting. Then you said something that I agree with a caveat, right?
Sure.
Which is that you said there's a core tension that every dollar they make comes from us. And so, you know, in one sense, it is a zero sum game, which is not totally true, but I definitely know what you mean, and you are correct. And both sides need to give a little. It needs to be able to feel good to both sides.
Yeah.
But I would argue that it's not both sides, it's all three sides. It's the game designers, the non spenders, and the spenders.
Okay.
Right? Because part of part of it is you will just never satisfy people. And I get frustrated with certain non spenders who whine constantly about spending, right? Who
Okay.
it's like, look, the game can only exist with people who spend. Like, that's literally how you get a free product because people are willing to spend money on this game. You can't then not want them to get anything for their money, right? Um, but you do have to have a spending um, system that balances the person who is doing the spending being like, yes, I got value, I'm happy, with someone who is not spending, not feeling totally excluded. That's one of the reasons I like the idea of, hey, you should at least have access, theoretically, if you're willing to save up enough rubies, to everything that a spender has access to, other than maybe cosmetics, like I say, just so that you want it to feel good for your non-spenders too. And you will notice I'm going to try to use spenders and non-spenders as opposed to free to play and pay to win. I don't like either of those terms.
Okay.
I think they're both a little bit derogatory, or they can be,
Sure.
right? Um, if I'm someone who is spending is paying for an advantage in the game, but there is no winning, right? And they also, hopefully, like myself, are trying to put a lot of skill and time in. And people who are not spending 8 hours in a game is not free exactly, right? So I
Yeah.
don't love those terms, right? So I tend to use spenders and non-spenders personally.
That's fine.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, I completely agree. Right, it sounds like you really agree with what Fateless is doing, where they said spending should give you acceleration, not exclusivity. Right, like
yeah, 100%,
cool.
100%. So then you talk about the line between ethical and unethical being different for everyone, and like there is a saying like market tactics are just the meta, and that's kind of true, right? Like, I mean, you wouldn't deliberately, if you know that, I don't know, people are more likely to buy a pop up that has some red in it or something, why would you deliberately not put that in, right? So it is tricky. Where does that bleed over into praying? And I agree with you, that is sort of a weird one, right?
Yeah, it's difficult, right? Because if I asked my grandmother, "Hey, I explained the gotcha system to her," she'd be like, "Why are you gambling?" Right? Like even with in-game currency, why are you spinning dice? Right? Versus people that understand the genre. It's like, hey, yeah, no, I'm perfectly tolerant to even pity systems like raid, where the pity doesn't even guarantee you a champion. It increases your percentage to get a champion. So it's just the tolerance level is different for different people, right? And so it's really hard to say what's predatory and what's not predatory, right? Because some people say, hey, pop-ups are predatory. I'm not in the shop, I'm not in a spending mood, stop trying to put me in a spending mood, right? And for me that's like, okay, like excessive pop-ups are bad, but like relax, right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think that one of the best ways to think about it is what you said, which is, could we explicitly state our logic to the customers and
Yes.
them not be mad about it, right? If they said like, hey, we exist by making money in this game. We want to every so often remind people that, like, hey, they could spend some on this, and we try not to do it too much or too intrusively. Like, I'd be like, oh yeah, okay, that makes sense. I'm okay with that. Um, but yeah, I think, to me, part of it is going back to what you said before with making both sides happy, or all three sides happy, is like, every business has that tension, right? They make money by you then give them money for. But certain businesses, so I will say an example of an industry that I think is extremely predatory would be payday lending, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, they're still giving you a thing you want in exchange for money, right? Like they're like, hey, we'll give you. They're kind of giving you money in exchange for money, so it's a little weird, right? But they basically their whole business model is based on you making bad decisions, right? The saying was that Blockbuster Video used to make their money on late fees, right? So they basically make their money when you screw up. I don't like that, right? Like you don't want to encourage your customer base to make bad decisions,
Sure.
right? So you want to end every transaction with the player going, oh, sweet, I'm happy with what I got, and the company getting money. And then the next day, the player waking up and being like, man, that was a good session. Not like, oh, God, I can't believe I spent, you know. And you can't totally affect that, but that's the way you should be thinking about these things, I think.
Yeah. I agree. I bought my raid account. I'm sure people have heard stories about it. I've done some stupid things with my raid account while I was learning the genre. And one of the things I did was I bought like void shard packs that weren't high value. And I bought them and I was like, man, I really only got like I spent like $70, something like that. And I got like nothing. And I was like, man, it felt so bad to spend. And it was one of the reasons why I started being like less of a spender in that game. Was just like that feel bad taste of like, man, why did I spend $70 on like 10 voids or 12, whatever it was, like 15 or whatever. And it was like, I'm such an idiot. Like that was such a bad mistake. So yeah, if I would have waited for a better deal, I could have gotten more voids for that money, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, yes. And we'll get into some of that a little later on, too. But
Sure.
so the next thing you talked about was price gouging. This is interesting because basically what you were saying, like, hey, this stuff, certain stuff only exists to make other stuff look better.
Yeah.
Um, and it's interesting. I actually mostly disagree with you on this.
Okay.
Um, and you kind of touch back on it from the other side a little bit later on when you're doing your mock-up with saying like, hey, the cash store is the Kraken store,
Yeah.
right? As far as like, we don't really expect people to buy here unless they have a lot of money. You know, we expect them to buy packs and things like that.
Yeah.
Um, so the weird thing about this is, right, this isn't like an orange or a car. There is no like set price for what these things should exist. The only reason that a pack is a good deal is because there are other deals that are not as good,
Okay.
right? To me.
Yeah,
And
I think when I say price gouging, I mean, you know, when you make a design document, I imagine they have one. They have a currency guy, right? So they probably at some point when you're making packs and stuff, you have a standard of like, here's the actual internal value of this item to the team, right? And
right,
so when you decide on that number, jacking it up, right? It's the same thing when you go to like a store and they have a TV that's $300 and then on sale it goes to 150, but they were always planning to sell it for 150. They did not expect anyone to buy it for 300, right? And the only purpose it is that price is to make that sale look better, right? And it's one of those things, if you're in the meeting room hearing that, right, that's like, wow, that's really scummy, right? Versus the, hey, we set this absolute maximum that we don't expect most people to buy, but it's not that crazy off of the value, right? You're not going to be called an idiot for buying from the shop. It's just, you know, there's just better things to buy, right? And I think that's the difference between price gouging and hacks versus a la carte, right?
yeah. So this is interesting, right? Because nobody's buying. We don't have to worry about like, what if someone comes in and buys 50 TVs? You know what I mean? Like, so
Sure.
that is so. There's two different things involved there. I think
Okay.
one of which is how different should your deal price be from the price you can buy an unlimited amount at, right?
Okay.
Because that is what they have to think about. Is okay if my deal price is only 30%, even 50% better than my everyday price, then it's almost too easy for a Kraken to just come and be like, yeah, I'll take 1,000 of those and just buy the game out. You know what I mean? You almost want there to be a fairly steep gradient, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later, I think. So I think
Okay.
it doesn't mean that raid couldn't be too steep, maybe, but I actually think they're kind of okay as long as you get to the second piece, which is the truth in advertising, right? And this gets back to your banners idea of clearly marking this is not a very good deal, right? I'm not the store that's pretending like it was normally 300 and this is an amazing deal. It's like, it's not even right. Like say like, hey, TV $300, not a particularly good deal. Like only buy if you you really
Yeah.
need it out there. And so say like I like to say common deal, like common deal. Even I mean, they probably wouldn't do this. It's probably a step too far, but you could even say like high spenders only, or whatever, recommended
Yeah.
for high spenders only or something, right? But like make it very clear, like, hey, this is not somewhere you should be spending. This is not a good option for you unless you're really trying to like, push
Well,
push a
if
lot
you
of
bought the
spending.
rest of the packs, right? Like there are deals that will be really good. Okay, you bought all those out. Here's what's left, right?
Right.
Like,
Exactly. Exactly. And so I guess maybe I'll mention this word now. So you talked about it a minute ago. Um, I like a negative spending gradient. Okay.
okay,
This is one of my tenants, spoiler, that we'll get to, which is I have played in games where the like it's an unlocking chain of packs, and the $10 pack is a better value than the $5 pack, and the $20 pack is a better value than the $10 pack. And it feels like, well, geez, I already bought the 5, 10, and $20 packs. Now I get the even better deal, $50. I might as well keep going, right? And it's
okay,
almost like they're trying to FOMO you and get you to like spend downhill, right? Like, well, you're already committed. It's the same thing with the hidden one. Well, I already bought the first 2 packs in the chain, and the 5th one is the like super high value one, so I guess I might as well keep going. You know, I want the game to make you spend uphill, right? To each time go, okay, you're going to get a little less value, for that next 5 than you got for your first 5. You sure you still want to do that? Okay, you're going to get a little less, so that they're not like tricking you into spending, into falling
oh,
down.
I see what you're saying. So you're saying the more expensive packs should be lower value. Like
Yes.
if you did a calculation, if you used a calculator. Okay.
Well, not, I mean, not 100% of the time do they have to be, but especially if they are like unlocking chains. I don't like it where like basically like you get me started spending and then now all of a sudden you start like adding in higher value that's unlocked behind that. And I'm like, oh, well, shoot, I can't spend the $10 for the good deal and then not spend the next 10 for the even better deal. And oh man, that unlocked a 10 that's even a better, that's like they're trying to like reel you in, you know,
Okay. Yeah.
where if each new deal that's unlocked behind the last deal is slightly worse value, then it's like, okay, you're not trying to trick me. You're like kind of giving me, are you sure? Are you sure? Okay,
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, and that's the reason I have you on, right? Is because I don't think about this stuff, right? I'm the kind of guy who, if I spend, I only buy the really valuable packs because that's
right,
honestly all I have money for, right? So I'm like,
right.
I don't understand that. I've never thought about this before, so I'm very happy to hear you talk about that. Yeah, it makes sense too, right? It's like if I already made a decision that my dollar's worth this much, and I bought it, and then you give me a pack that makes my dollar more valuable, then of course I'm going to spend, and then I could do it without even thinking, and all of a sudden I've overspent my budget, right? Like,
Right, exactly. And so you
interesting.
want to make it easy. You want to make it so there's a negative gradient, right? That first dollar, there's some super good deal for the first dollar, right? Like you say, for the first dollar spent. And then I guess we're going out of my planned order, but that's fine. One of the things I would love to see is if they took like the raid pass that you can get, for example, that gives you the extra silver and XP and stuff,
Hmm.
combine that with the monthly gem pack, and then maybe throw a few shards on top even. Give me a really good deal monthly for like $10 or something.
Okay.
Right? That's like some of the best value in the game. Because the idea is that basically, if you can make extremely or pretty darn high value widely spread, you can push your game a little bit more towards I have a lot of people who spend at a lower level and not I rely on and Krakens that spend 50,000.
Okay. So you would say this is an interesting question because I don't know the answer, right? So most games we know are supported by Krakens, right? By I would even say people like yourself, right? Whales and Krakens who can commit 500, 1,000, you even hear of like 10,000 a month from some of these people, right?
Yeah.
Do
Yeah.
do you think that Fateless should be okay with that, or should we, or should they try to distribute across the player base of like, okay, we want every player to spend like $10 a month, right?
So my thought would be yes and, right? You're always
Okay.
going to have Krakens who spend a bunch. Great, love it. But if you have that negative spending gradient and you try to make there be a couple of low priced, really good deals,
Like
you encourage
monthly,
people.
right? Like every
Yeah,
month
right. Yeah,
they
you
refresh.
encourage
Okay.
people to say like, hey, actually, I can get a lot of value in this game by just spending $10 a month,
Yeah.
and then and that hopefully also broadens the base out to where you have a lot of people who are like, I'm happy to support them for a little bit. I feel like I get great value for it. I think that is a healthy ecosystem personally.
Yeah, and something else, something I thought about is, we talked about the raid. The raid was like a gold VIP thing or whatever, right? What is that called in raid?
Yeah. I think
But
you mean the one that gives you extra like
the extra gold and XP, right?
yeah, that's like their monthly raid pass, raid card
Yeah,
or whatever.
raids, whatever, right? I was thinking about that, right? Because it gives you gold and experience, right? Like extra, like what, 20%
Silver,
or something. That's gonna if Godforge decides to do that, that's gonna be really good because of the way that XP is bottled.
yeah.
So like, because in raid it's like you only get that XP value when you're farming champions, right? When you're leveling
It's
in
actually
food.
only in campaign. In raid, it's actually only in campaign that they give it to
Oh,
you.
oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
So I wonder if Fateless and Godforge decide to do that, if it'll be everywhere because you can just bottle XP, right? Like,
Yeah, I mean, that's one that really is beyond my level of expertise, right? That's one where they would need their marketing currency guy to know
yeah,
what the exact things are. But I just like the idea of saying, like, hey, let there be a first dollar pack, let there be maybe two or three throughout the game where you unlock some big, huge thing and there's a low dollar, high value pack, and give me one low dollar, high value pack monthly, you know,
okay,
so that like people can can actually feel really good about spending, $5 to $20 a month. Be like, hey, this is a part of my entertainment budget. It's relatively low cost, and like
sure.
I feel like I get great value. I support the company. Make it easy for people to make that call if they want to.
Yeah. And so my question to you now, right? We'll probably get there actually. Go ahead to your next point because I think I'm about to
Okay.
ask something you're about to answer.
Okay, maybe. All right. So now the next thing you talked about is promo and flash sales. You talked about Biscuit in a game that I don't play, but basically the idea of like, oh look, you failed are about to fail a thing here. Oh, here's the thing you need. Like, I don't like those, right? I agree.
Yeah,
Those are not. I'm not a fan, right? They're you can't. They don't pass the like. Could you tell people why you're doing this test? I don't think, right? They're like,
yeah, yeah,
if you want, I don't even love the like, hey, here's a lock, and at the exact same time, here's the exact key you could buy to open it.
yeah,
Um, but certainly, if you're going to do it, give me a flash sale that lasts 3 days. You know what I mean? Let me think about it. Let me like sleep on it. Let me like, don't give me a like, oh, you got 3 minutes to, go, come on.
yeah.
You know?
Even like 12 hours isn't enough, right? Because I
Right,
could do it. I could do it like before work. I'm playing it. I'm playing the game. And I get this flash sale. I'm like, oh, I basically have till after work to decide, and I don't have time to think about it because I'm at work, right? Like,
right, right. If you're going to do a time limit on a sale, I think it should be a few days.
okay,
Like give me a little bit of time where I can like think it over. I can try level 10 or whatever you said it was a couple times, a couple different ways without, do I need this thing? Do I not? How good,
yeah,
I can sleep on it and come back and be like, all right, maybe I do, But in general, I don't even love the flash sale thing overall. I talked about the negative gradient. First buy incentive, I do totally love. Um,
yeah,
yeah. Your Ruby store mockup was next, which I thought that really I don't have much in the way of notes. I
yeah,
thought it was great, other than just that I think I would I would have to see it and play it, but I feel like my initial feeling is, without having done it, that I would actually rather just have one store with a cash and rubies price,
sure,
right? And then you can also just buy rubies if you want to. But although I guess if it was cash and rubies, you might not need to. But either way, but I would prefer there at least be a way to get pretty much everything in the cash store at the ruby store. Um, I loved your. People already know the like legendary epic, you know, rare uncommon common system. So I love the idea of putting that on banners. I think that's great. Um,
the little ribbons, right? The little
yep, 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 yep.
yeah,
And having them actually, because there's nothing dumber. I used to play Rise of Kingdoms and Call of Dragons. Every bundle was like this relatively average bundle is plus 900% value, right? This good bundle is plus 1500% value. Like, compared to what? There's not even a real baseline. Like, what are we even talking about here?
Exactly. And that's what I was saying is like, if you can get that baseline and make it clear to the consumer and make it clear to the player, then that's like, those ribbons need to have something that's grounding them, where
Right.
it's like if someone like me goes and is like, yeah, here's exactly how they got this number, right?
Right,
And
exactly. I could be able to figure out where they got that number. And it should make sense. Now, I
yeah,
do think that actually it does need to be a little. So I do like, just from a psychological perspective, the plus value instead of the percent off. But that might just be a cycle. But either way, but I
sure.
do think that actually the numbers might be a little different than you said, just because of how steep the gradient needs to be, so that there are options for a low spend player to feel good, and yet a Kraken isn't just buying everything on day one. Unless I mean, somebody's always gonna, but like, at least don't make it so there's 50 people who are gonna.
Yeah.
um. So then, oh, I love uh you said minimum purchase idea, which I think is reasonable, right? As far as if you have a cart, like minimum purchase, as far as you know, there's a transaction cost to them, so you might need to, say like, hey, to do the shopping cart, you got to get at least $10 worth. Sure, I would love the shopping cart idea, because I have 100% suffered from the 5,000 charges. Like, I can't tell anything that's happening in my bank account because it has. So Call of Dragons used to have, and Rise of Kingdoms have 3 different packs every day that are $1, $2, and $3, and I would get those every day. And so
And then you
every day my
have
bank account would have a $1, $2, and $3 charge, and it's like, can I just pay $180 a month once and not have 108 and not have, like, nine
exactly.
charges on my bank account every month instead?
Well, it's especially frustrating too when I share a bank account with my wife, and when we did the raid thing, I was like, hey, I'm going to spend $70 on this pack, but it was a chain pack, right?
Yeah.
And it was like like a $20 charge, a $15 charge, a $30 charge, and a $5 charge, and my wife's like, why you spend so much money in raid? We only agreed on this amount, and I was like, no, it is like added up, and it just adds a lot of confusion, adds a lot of extra steps in life if you just like have a shopping cart, right? Like,
Right. Now, I will say, here's the thing that I haven't heard anyone talk about. It's a thing that Rise of Kingdoms and Call of Dragons do, and I really like it. So they have their own website where you can go in and buy what they call dragon tickets in their case, right? So you go there and you pre-purchase. You say, hey, I'm going to buy this pack, and it's going to have a $100 ticket, a 50, a 20, a 10, and a 5, whatever it is, right? Or 10, 5, whatever. And it just gives you these little tickets that you can then use in game to instead of that. So the reason they do that is twofold. The biggest reason they do it is because it makes it so they don't have to give a cut of their money to Google Play and Apple. And the amount that Google Play and Apple take is, I think, like 30 to 50%. It's insane. Like, you don't realize it's in the ecosystem. The amount that the intermediaries take is so much. So a lot more of my money actually goes to Fateless, for example. If I go to the Fateless website and say, hey, I want to pre-buy $200 worth of credit, and then I'll spend it in game. So that's a thing. And then in the game I'm talking about, if you do that, when you pre-buy $200, they give you $220 worth of credit, basically.
okay,
Right. And so you can then, so it's nice for a couple things. One, it lets me say, I can actually make my buying decision at the beginning of the month. This is how much I'm spending this month. And then when my in-game credit runs out for the month, I'm done. I've set myself a budget. I spent it once, and now in game I can spend it over time on the different packs that pop up. And so it puts an extra step in that chain of, like, impulse buying. And then also it lets me I can go in once and be like, hey, I'm going to buy a couple of these things and not have 1,000 charges. And then it also lets the money go less to the intermediaries. So
I like that a lot, actually, like for the exact reasons you said. Is because remember, every time you use your credit card, there's a transaction fee that is there as well, right? So it's like, and now there's like the commission from the Apple Play Store and the Google Store, or the Apple Play, sorry, the Google Play and the Apple Store. And this makes perfect sense. I think this is exactly the kind of system you will want in a community-based game, right? It just feels very community like centric, where it's like, hey, yeah, you can preload your account. you could probably even do like a recurring monthly payment. I'd be fine with that. Where it's like, yeah, I'm gonna spend, like, for me, it's probably gonna be like $100 a month, right? So it's like, hey, yeah, you could just load my account with $100 a month for 6 months, right? I don't care, right? I'll sign up for that.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean that is just, I don't know if they've looked into that or who knows, but that is something that I did that I liked. So
If they haven't, they should, right? You can say that.
I think so. I think so. Yes.
I think I agree as well. I think that's a really good idea, especially with them being a smaller company. They may not have thought about that either, right? And so that'd be something.
I would bet someone along in there has. They're pretty
Sure,
smart, but
yeah, they're pretty smart,
my
but
experience.
yeah, that's the thing. It's just like it's so weird to juggle between, like, it's their first game versus, like, there's a lot of experience in their
Right.
team as well.
Right.
So
100%.
I always wonder. I'm sure there's meetings where, Simon, for example, goes in and he's like, "Hey, here's how I want to do it," and everyone's like, "No, that's not how the industry does it. Don't do it this way." And he's like, "Oh, that makes perfect sense. I feel like an idiot, right?" Because, like, it's his first game, it's his first rodeo. So I wonder how many of those meetings go like that, where it's just like, "Oh, I had no idea this was the standard, and it makes perfect sense. Let's just do it this way, right?" So
Yeah. So now the next thing you talked about was your event shop, which I thought you said a few things. One, you said timing matters, which I 100% agree with. This is where we get back to transparency. Give me whatever deals you're going to give me. Let me see them all up front when I'm making my decisions at the beginning of an event. Right?
yes,
Don't do the thing where you're like, oh, by the way, turns out we're actually going to give you the better deal halfway through, or you can actually buy it. Like, let me know when I'm making my decisions what my options are. Um, it's interesting because initially when you said, "Hey, you can buy your way through a fusion, but it's not cheap, like $1,000 something if you wanted to straight up buy the fusion,"
yeah,
I actually thought I liked it, but actually I saw a comment from Mythology who disagreed, and I think I ended up being a little more on that side where I think fusions are such a thing that drive the game that I don't know if you want someone being able to just straight buy through it. But
yeah,
I do think if we took the raid example, if we said, "Hey, there's like 110 available, not counting rankings or whatever, and you can, you need to get 100. If you could buy like somewhere between 5 and 20 of those at relatively, like, first five for $5, next five for $10, next five for 15 or something, I feel like that would help a lot, right? Like, as someone, for me, like, it would just be so much easier if I was like, oh, I can just spend like 5 or $15 or something and get 5 or 10 shot of these fragments and make this way easier, you know, and it would make it much less time intensive of a time intensive ask, which I think that might be pretty.
yeah. Especially, I was in situations a lot in fusions where, like, my ice golem team sucks, right? And it's like, and I like, the ice golem tournaments were always such a problem for me with fusions because,
Mhm.
like, I could do 20, but it was so slow. And
Right.
if I knew I could spend $5 to skip the ice golem portion of the fusion, I would.
Yeah.
I did not want to do ice golem. It is like, we're talking like 8 to 10 minutes a run, right? And it's just like, I have to have my computer running 24/7 to beat the fusion in
Right.
time, right? Even if
Yeah.
I had the energy requirement, even if I met that, like, prerequisite. And so, yeah, I think it needs to be at the front, right? I don't like something that Raid does, and I heard people get burned by this. Is like, people are going for a fusion, and they strategically choose to skip a few because they don't have the resources for it. Because, like, oh,
Yep.
they'll just give me a $10, $20 pack at the end, and then they never did. Like, there was a fusion where they
Yeah.
didn't have a shard pack for it,
Right.
and they just got burnt from the fusion. They're like, but you always do this, right? And I think that's why it should be upfront. Even if
Right.
it's weird and awkward and kind of like whatever, it's like, if you're gonna do it, put it at the front. If you're not gonna do it, just let people know, hey, there is no backup. You cannot buy
Right.
shards, so
Right.
people can make better decisions, right? Or
Right. I
fragments,
agree.
they're called, right? Not, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
fragments.
Right.
I agree.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. And same thing. So now we go to personalized bundles, which is the next thing. Hate them.
Yeah.
Hate,
I
hate, hate.
Yes.
The, like, you and I either spend differently or one of us has spent more recently or whatever, and we get different bundle. Like,
Yeah.
no.
Someone had a
No.
good name for it. I think it was. tiered bundles, right? It's like a tiered shop where it's like I've spent $500, or if you spend $500, and then they show you the highest tier purchase, so you can never spend just $10 again, right? Like I think that's so. It's kind of counterintuitive to what you were saying too, where it's like that negative dollar gradient. It's like, but like I don't get the good pack anymore, right? Like,
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, I fully believe it should be equalized. Everybody should have access to everything. Now, I could be okay with there being very rare, like, a wandering merchant happened by and all of a sudden you get a good deal. As long as it's like truly random and anybody can get it and it's the same thing. I don't know if I love that, but I'm okay with it.
sure,
But the idea of like, we're going to separate our players out and give this kind of player this kind of pack and this kind of player, that to me, that feels really slimy. Right. I don't go to
yeah.
the grocery store and they're like, nah, you spent a lot. You can't go to the.
Well, let's think. Hey, yeah. You're wearing a nice suit, so you can't go to the clearance section, right? Like,
Right. One sec. Yeah. So yeah, no, do not like that. Okay, so now I will talk through a little bit if you want. I made 6 tenets, right, for
okay,
what I think a healthy ethical system should look like.
go for it. Yeah.
The first one is pretty simple, right? Communicate well and honestly, and follow that idea of would our customers be okay if they were in the marketing meeting, right? Let
Okay.
me explain this, right? And that's obviously just a very high tier. Like we try to communicate, we try to, be honest with people,
You're
and
not
we
trying
try.
to hide anything, right? Like,
Right,
like your business decisions make sense, and you're not trying to game the system, right? You're just trying to make your honest money.
right, right, exactly. Sorry. So then the next one is negative gradient, right? You spend uphill, right? You have a first buy incentive, which is like insane value for $1 or $2, right? Then you have a really good monthly pass, right? That's like, hey, fairly cheap, right? A couple of like, hey, you just made a big milestone. So for $5, you get great value. And then you slowly ramp up to where like you still get good value. And then you get not so good value. And hey, then at the end, you can just buy out of the cash out if that's what you want to do,
Yeah.
you know? But like, I'm not trying to like reel you in and like get you running downhill and all of a sudden you can't stop and you're like out of control. I'm trying to encourage healthy spending patterns and um I think number 3, I think there should be some things you cannot buy infinite of, right? So in raid, you can't buy the Great Hall, right? The Great Hall you have to work on. Gear you can buy a little bit, but not that much, right? You
Yeah.
mostly have to work on gear. Void shards you can buy a decent amount of, but not an unlimited amount, right? So I like that idea of like there are some things that you can only get with time in the game or with skill, whatever. Where even if I have, if I'm Bill Gates, I cannot do everything day one.
You can't buy your Great Hall, right? Like at the end of the day, you can't buy the Great Hall.
But I like there being things like that. I like it being it's not just 100% like everything you can buy. No.
I agree. Yeah, sounds good.
Tenet 4 would be avoid cash is the only possible way to obtain this. This is where I talked about, right? So, like, great example, I think, if I understand correctly, is like Predator right now in Raid. Literally, Predator, of course, is predatory. Right? There's no way. And I think Xena was like this, or maybe He Man, some of the heroes, it's like, you can spend $40 or whatever, or you cannot have this hero, and you will never have this hero.
Is that how? So is he just in the shop for $40? Like you can't, like you don't pull him from shards or anything.
There might be a summon way to get it. I don't know. I'm not really playing Raid that much right now. I don't that much, but like they've had ones where it's like you spend $40 to get him, and to me, this also somewhat gets into a different idea, which is exclusives, right? But I'm actually not necessarily. I like the idea of exclusives. I don't think they can be heroes in Godforge. We can maybe talk about that later, but I don't like the idea of the only way to get now. Sure, maybe you get lucky and you summon him, right? But since he's only here for a limited period of time, if you don't get lucky or spend some insane amount of money, right? A free to play cannot say, I'm going to go get that. And then after 30 days or whatever, they can't hope to get it, right? They can't just say, well, someday I'll get that, right? They never can have it, right? And the only way for them to get it was money, right? And I don't like that. And yeah, I don't like that. I feel like if there is a thing that exists in the game, there should be a way to get it. Maybe it's RNG heavy, maybe it's hard. I mean, maybe it's like, hey, we do this banner and you can straight buy this champion. That's the way it's designed to get it. but now you're going to have to get lucky and get it through RNG or whatever, or maybe now there's some fragment shop long term where you get a few fragments here and there and you have to choose between different options and you might never get them all, but like, I'm not saying nope, you don't spend money, you will never have this thing.
Yeah, I agree. Right there should always be a path for players to get it that don't want to spend money. Right, like you can make a plan and then in a year, even if it takes a year, right? It's like, okay, yeah, here's my path to get Predator. Right, like
yeah. Now I will say cosmetics I am okay with, right? I am okay with there being some things that are truly exclusive, right? And that like that makes sense. Now this is where I'm a little torn. So I am not a guy who actually likes cosmetics that much usually. Partly because if we talk about the achievements, we can talk about why, but I don't love them that much. So part of me wonders if like, okay, you can have a cool Zeus skin that also gives your Zeus plus 3% attack. Am I okay with that being exclusive to cash or some other difficult way? I think I am. But like I'm not saying you can never have Zeus. I'm saying your Zeus will be down 3% attack. Like, okay, that's not, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not barring you from an area of the game. I'm not saying you can't have your favorite hero. You're like, oh, Godforge has Zeus. Oh, wait, he's exclusive to, something I can't do,
Yeah, I definitely disagree with that. I think that, if you're having, cosmetics, right? I don't like when cosmetic gives stat boosts. I think it's just like, because it's like you said too, it's like, you can't make it that big. And then it's like, then what's the point of even having it, right? Like, it does so little that who cares, right?
It does, but I care personally. Like, I'm the guy who does, just because I'm like, okay, like it's a real thing. Like it's a tiny little advantage. It's a little nothing, but like, hey, it's a real advantage. I like the idea of that too for like, the winner of some top tournament, the winner, like the winner of the alpha, right? If they wanted to give out the 6 people who go to Vegas get a special skin for some hero that gives a little stab, I think that would be cool because, to me, it's like if you go through all that work and literally what you get is a gold sticker, does nothing. And it's like, oh man, well, okay. I mean, what if I don't even like that skin? What if it doesn't look as cool? What if I later on get a different skin that looks cooler? Like, like, I don't know. I'm like, all right. I mean, sure, I guess. Like, thanks for the pat on the back.
Yeah, I think we'll agree to disagree because like I really don't like especially exclusive skins. Like I would feel so bad if they were like, yeah, hey, here's Brynhild's like the face of the game, right? Yeah. So it's like, hey, here's a Brynhild skin to the winners, and it gives you 2% defense, right? And it's just like I like I said too. It's so little. Like, give me something else. Like if you want to. I don't think that's the way to get power in the game. I don't know. I just don't like it. Right. And we can agree to disagree. Like it's for me, it's so precious little stats.
Yeah.
That like, it's not worth even arguing about. Right. It's not even worth like discussing.
I'm not like hard sold on it. I just know that personally, when I get a cosmetic that does nothing, I'm like, all right, well, there's a ribbon. Nice. Now I will say, if we make it to achievements, I will talk about a possible solve for that. Actually.
Sure.
But, all right, so then tenet number 5 is have all information at the point of decision, right? If there's packs with an event, have them available at the start. If there's a series of packs, which I don't even love those series of packs, but for sure, let me see what every pack in that series is exactly. Certainly don't hide, let me have all the information before I make decisions.
Yep.
And then the 6th one is same bundles available for everybody, right? No
tiered system, no
So put together, it's basically like communicate well and honestly with the idea of would our customers be okay if they were in marketing, have a negative spending gradient or however you want to say it, where like, you get a little less value as you go, have some things you can't just buy infinite of, avoid cash is the only way you can get this for all but cosmetics, all information available at the point of decision, and same bundles available for everyone. I feel like if they did that, I would feel like a pretty good system. I would feel pretty happy with that system, I think.
Yeah, and the thing is, I always say too is like, Raid makes a lot of money because it uses the predatory systems. Like it is no secret, but I think there is a place where you can still make a lot of money, still make a good amount of money without using their predatory systems, right? And so I think that, I hope that when Godforge is doing research and they find that, oh hey, yeah, exclusivity just drives sales. I hope that they're like, well, it doesn't drive it by enough to neglect our morals, right? Like,
Yeah.
and neglect the community. So yeah, I agree, and this is why, I don't blame them for not discussing monetization yet. Like, I'd say we have about 10 to 15 minutes left. It sounds like we got through the monetization part, which is the big reason I want you on. I know you have a lot to talk about, so I will leave the floor to you. Whatever you want to discuss, right? Other parts of the game, I'm more than happy to discuss with you.
Okay. So we talked about a few of these before, ones you said you were interested in. So I'll just go with the ones you were interested in.
Sure.
So okay, here we go. People that hate me already, unpopular opinion right here. I think they should be a little less generous than Raid. They've talked about being more generous than Raid with shards. I think they should be a little less generous in some ways.
Go ahead and cook, right? And what do you mean? In what ways should they be less generous?
Well, first of all, I will say if I was them, I would actually just pretty much match Raid in terms of shard pull rates, and then have the
Okay.
lever they pull be give more or less shards.
Okay,
Right?
and should they give more or less shards, right?
So I personally think I would tend towards a little bit less, and I'll tell you why.
Okay, I'm listening. I disagree, but I'm listening. Right, change my mind.
So Raid has about I just looked the other day, 325 legendaries right now.
Yes.
So a new player to Raid today is given shards based on a pool of 325 legendaries. Godforge will have, I don't know, 50 to 70. I haven't counted, something like that, probably.
Yeah, something like that.
So in Raid, Raid has a reputation of being predatory, and it is in many ways. But honestly, a serious but not even like crazy free to or no spend player, if they play Raid for a year, would get, let's say they miss one, they get 11 fusions. There are 2 to 3 like login reward champs that you get just for going, just for like being in enough days. They'll probably during that time get 2 to 3 promotional login champs. They'll get Drexthar Blood Twin. I think there's like one other one you can get in the first year, Arbiter. And so before they pull a shard to get champions, they will get about 20, almost probably like 17 to 20 legendaries in that first year, plus whatever they pull. And I feel like a higher end player pulls about non-spender, probably pulls a legendary a month plus minus. So they're going to have like, 30, let's say, plus or minus, they're going to have 30 legendaries in the first year. So that means someone who isn't spending and is playing fairly serious in Godforge is going to have half the pool or more after the first year. That's a lot. That feels like a lot to me. You know what I mean?
I definitely see what you're saying, but they're gonna add more characters, right, as well. And so, like, yeah, I also think your estimate of free-to-play players getting a legendary from shards a month is not right. Like,
you might be right.
I think it's more like they pull a legendary, like they actually pull a legendary like once every 2 months, and that's if they're really on top of their if they can have clan boss set up in the first month, which is really uncommon.
Yeah. Sorry. I should say I wasn't talking about a month 1 player, right? I'm talking about a month. I'm talking about a month 6 to 12 player.
Okay.
Right. Like you're definitely right at the beginning for sure. When you're not.
You're saying fusions. Like, I don't think people are ready to do fusions until like their second or third month. Honestly, like.
Yeah. So this is where it's also tricky, right? Because and this is hard for them to balance, right? Because there is a big difference between, like, if you watch the free to play challenge every year, which I tend to keep an eye on even though I don't play, right? Like, I mean, those guys are pushing crazy, right? I mean, they're getting a lot, right? Like, I mean, I would say a lot of those folks pull their first legendary within a week because of how many shards they're getting from all the different crazy. I think people in Raid, though, like, I have been playing kind of casually just to kind of get myself back in the genre. I think people underestimate, if you actually do all the stuff, if you do Cursed City, if you do Doom Tower, if you do Faction Wars, if you do, you get a lot of rewards from like if you do all your, I mean, let's put it this way. If you think about this, every month You get a free sacred and a void every month just from doing the advanced missions.
Yeah.
You know, you get. I would argue you get. I mean, like say maybe one a week from clan boss once you get it set up. So I mean, that's 5 sacreds right there. If you pull those during a 2x, if you now again if you're smart and you save and pull them during 2x's, which can be hard if you're doing fusion sometimes, I get. But like you're looking at what's that? That's like 12. That's like 60% chance. It's 60% of legendary right there just from your sacreds, not touching voids or ancients. You know, so I think it's higher than people think. But anyhow, I don't know that they'd be way less generous than raid necessarily. But I just think they have to be careful, especially if we're now going to say instead they should be more generous than raid.
Yeah,
like you have a small enough pool of heroes, like they're just gonna. I mean, I don't want because to me, if you aren't generous enough, you do lose some players who are just like, man, I never get anything. It's too frustrating. Da, da, da. But if you are too generous, the game just ends, right? You're King Arthur. The game is just over. Like everybody has everything, and there's no coming back from it. You know, you're just done.
Yeah, I'm actually in the camp of I like raids, summon rates, and I like the amount of free shards you get. I think it's at a pretty good spot. Like plus or minus like 10% is fine. I think for me, where raid is egregious at is what is the word? The shop I think is awful, right? Absolutely awful. And I think that when they add new content, I don't think they're thinking about like I remember when they added like the Shojin and the what is that thing called? The other places, right? The after the core dungeons. I really think like when they implemented that, they didn't think about how that fits into the daily and weekly grind of a player.
Yeah.
And so I think that's the bad part about raid is like, where do I spend my energy? Especially when you have like Minotaur as well, where it's like, you know, if I want to level up champions, it was like a week's worth of energy to level up a character to 60. And it's also like a week's worth of energy to level up Minotaur, right? To give my person masteries. And it's like, I can't do both at the same time. And plus I want to be farming gear. Plus I want to be pushing for a fusion. It's like you're putting too much strain on my energy. Like and then that's fine for the core. Like sure, we can balance that. But then now you add this new content where I need to put my energy into this as well. Like I was already having a hard time struggling balancing my energy.
Yeah. So I think we talked about sunset mechanisms a little bit. Like if I was raid, I would have done 2 things by now. I would have, of course, added the like double battles or whatever to Minotaur, but I would also probably have doubled the number of scrolls you get in Minotaur.
Yeah.
You said, hey, the game is far enough along. This is now an early game progression. Let's make it go faster. You know what I mean? Like it's a catch up mechanism. It's, you know what I mean? So I would probably have done that if I was them. But yeah. I will also say, actually, when I say I think they should be less generous, I don't mean like way less generous. I mean like at raid levels or like 10% below, like I think.
Yeah, I'd be fine with that as well, right? I do like the feel of pulling a legendary. I do, you know, you have to stress people, you don't need legendaries, right? Like they are the best in slot, but like put your optimization cap away for a second and just enjoy the early game with your epics, right? And you know, and only take them to 50 if that's okay, right? You'll still get stuff done. But people are all like, when you ask people like, who are they most excited to play with? Who are you pulling for? It's always legendaries. They completely forget about rares and epics. And I'm like, man, no, it's not that kind of game, right? It's not Honkai Star Whale. It's not where like, oh yeah, your epics or your epics aren't that great, and then your legendaries are where you actually play the game. It's like that's not the genre. That's not this style of game.
And I will say, honestly, even that, like, realistically, just not because of us, but because of the community as a whole and where people are and who people are, they probably actually have to be at or slightly above raid generosity levels just to make people happier. But I think they should be real careful with that, basically, you know?
Yeah, I agree, right? They don't want to lose the like, I remember when I pulled Calvalax, right? And I was like, oh, I was popping. I was excited for the rest of the day, man. I was like, yeah, nice. And I pulled him from a random shard. It wasn't even a times 2 event. It was for what is it called? It's for a fusion event. I was just dumping my ancients into it, right, to get the fragments. And And I was like, I got a Cavalax. I was like, that's awesome, right? Like, I was so excited. I was expecting, just a bunch of rares, right? And my account was like 4 months old, and so I was like, oh, cool. I was like a 4 month, relatively low spender, like $50 a month, something around there. With the Cavalax, I was like, awesome. This is great. Like, so.
So now, okay, next one. This is actually like literally the core of game design, I think, right here.
Mhm.
And we're not going to call it today, but it's an interesting topic. We have, without talking about it, we've actually talked about it in one extent, which is cash, right? Which is how do I, but now we're stepping out a second and saying, okay, there's me who's going to spend $10,000 over the first however long that I've saved up, right? Plus the 500 a month.
Sure.
There's someone who's going to spend nothing. How do they keep the game interesting or challenging for me? I still want to feel like I'm getting value, but then I also have to have something that needs those heroes, that wants those heroes to do stuff. But they don't want this other guy who's spent nothing to feel like
In the dust, right?
well, I'm just playing. I'm not even playing the game. I'm just playing a quarter of the game over here in the entryway, while the other guy gets to enjoy the whole house. Now, I know PvP is always a partial answer to that. I think having robust achievement and leaderboard systems could be good. I think PvE tournament systems could be a big piece of that, maybe. But yeah, what do you and then taking a step back, we talk about that really, but it's the same question of if someone wants to spend 10 hours a day, how do you make them feel like they're doing fun things and getting something out of it without making the guy who spends 30 minutes a day feel like he can't even play?
Yeah,
Right?
and so at the end of the day, right? It's impossible, right? It is impossible if there's someone like you who spends the X amount of money, and you also spend a decent amount of time with a decent amount of strategy. You're going to conquer everything, and that's okay, right? That's okay, right? And then leaderboards are the answer, and PvP is the answer, right? And that's just the nature of the beast, right? They can't make infinite content. But something I thought about, right, and something I think would be really cool is Aaron talked about, we talked about these tales, right? So I imagine them being little side stories that talk about the characters, whatever. And I think, in those tales, there should be combat, right? And I think it should come with an event, right? So they talked about the one where Zeus captures an avatar of himself, right? I think that there should be a battle that's a scripted loss, that if you're strong enough, you can actually win and get resources from, right? And so for people like you who are ahead of the curve, right, you might be able to win it on its like debut run. And I think when a tale is done, right, it should be put away into a vault that it never reruns, right? It just goes into a vault that you can use a currency to unlock if you were not playing the game while this event was running. And so, if you're there, it's unlocked, whatever. And so a new player, when they get to the point where you were, they can go back and revisit that fight and beat it now that they have the Giga Busted champions or a good enough team. And then get those rewards that you got when it first launched, right? I think that's something that I'm interested in as well. Is just like when they release content, have like the baby version of it, and then have a challenge there that's just kind of just sitting on the account whenever you're ready, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a really interesting idea, actually, having to be like a scripted loss that you could nevertheless win. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, and like I said too, it would require a vault that you could revisit it later, right? But just like, hey, I actually did beat it during its initial run, and maybe you get maybe you get like a title for that, right? Where it's like you get rewards, and if you beat it during the initial run, you also get this cool title, right? It's just maybe it's not that exciting, but like, yeah, you show off your title, like, hey, yeah, I did actually beat the Zeus imprisonment event the first time, right? During its initial run. So
yeah, no, I like that. I will also say, just really in the long run, you get the same issue with account age, right? How do you keep a new player engaged? How do you let a new player feel like they can catch up to some degree while having a 5-year player feel like they built value over 5 years, right? Someone who's skilled and really has deep knowledge of the game wants to feel rewarded for that, but the new player doesn't want to feel like they have to have that to even. So there's a lot of things like that.
Yeah, it's always going to be a challenge. I think that the most important thing you can do, and this is for me when I joined Raid, is those arbiter missions that pointed me in the right direction. When I played Raid, I was not the powerhouse I am now. I was a baby. I did not know what to do, and those Arbiter missions actually kept me interested in Raid enough to be where I'm at now. Like I told people, my first 6-star was a Saurus. I built an uncommon first because I liked him. I didn't understand, right? So when the game told me, "Hey, build a rarer higher," I'm like, "Oh, is that kind of like the level of where I should be?" It sounds so stupid, but having a very clear, especially later in the game, and keep revisiting this when you add new content, let players know, like, hey, get this in order first, and then move to this guy, right?
Yeah.
But yeah.
So our next one actually is perfect because I think it's one of the answers to that, at least on the money front, and I think on several of the fronts potentially, which is they have talked about having like Pantheon or content creator run tournaments. I think once they get going, that's going to be amazing, right? Especially if they do a good job of really making
I'm
it a robust
very
feature.
excited for that. Sorry, I keep talking over you, but I am. Yeah, I plan on running. Lord willing, I plan on running a lot of tournaments. And it'll probably be like weird stuff that values lower rarity heroes, right? And so yeah, and so you can have like a weenie cup, right? Where it's like, hey, we can only use uncommons and commons, right? I don't plan on doing that personally, but like, hey, it makes the new players like, oh yeah, cool. I'll use my yeah, especially if we have a normalized arena where you don't actually have to build them, you just have them, right? It's just pick those guys. I think that could be really fun. But you were still saying, I feel bad for talking over you.
No, I do the same thing. No, but like that's exactly like if that feature is robust, it would be insane, right? I want you to be able to do normalized or not normalized. I want you to be able to do PvP and PvE, right? I want you to be able to set it up and say, let's take the raid example, say, all right, my tournament, first round is dragon runs. You got to get it, you got to get dragon 25 as fast as you can, and you can only use 2 factions. Pick your 2. Or I pick one and you pick the other, whatever, right? I mean, like so many options, right? Okay, now next round is next round is a PvP round. Now we're going to do live arena. Now third round we're going to do a clan boss, right? I mean, like what I mean? Like I mean, just infinitely tweakable parameters and like PvE, PvP, and normalized and not. And like, hey, have a tournament that has some rounds that are normalized, some that aren't. Have a whatever. Have a I mean, the possibilities are endless, right? Yeah. And the non-normalized half of that gives you cool places to compete. And what you're talking about, right? Well, maybe my account can do everything in the game and there's nothing left for me to build. Except when you say that I need to do the max damage I can to clan boss with rares only and pick
a faction. Yeah.
Right. Well, now all of a sudden I need to go, do right. Like you start making these increasingly weird or niche or challenge things. And it's like, oh, well, actually now I do need to go farm something new and build something new and get something new,
Yeah, exactly. Right. And I talked to someone, I forget who it was, but they asked me, how do you make the game last long? Right. What's the key there? And I think community is the absolute biggest key, right? Is there are games that should have died 15, 20 years ago that are still robust and still very active because their community has just taken off and just have made it all these cool challenges road. And like the game hasn't been updated in 10 years, but the community keeps finding new ways to engage with it, right? And that's your ticket, right?
Absolutely. I 100% agree. Here's my question.
Yes.
Do we have enough time for one more or do we not?
We will, just for you, we'll do one more.
Okay. This is a long one though, so I just
that's okay.
You. Sorry. I won't go because I think that actually this is another pillar of community, right? So one pillar of community, I think that this game could have that others don't have, could be highly customizable player run tournaments, could be total game changer as far as community goes, right? And I mean, we could even get into like, can a content creator that wants to, can they like say, hey, I paid $100 to get $100 worth of in-game prizes, and whoever plays in my tournament gets them. I think that would be awesome.
Yeah.
But I mean, even if they can't, people could do their own merch, whatever. The possibilities are endless. So now, next thing that I think would be really awesome, key to community and longevity, is a robust achievement system. Okay. So you've got to have, if you have a robust achievement system, right? You have a wide range of difficulty. You want people who are starting the game to be getting cool achievements immediately, but also that's another thing where, right, even I'm at the very end game, but there's some insane achievement that's like do the super hard thing in a crazy low time limit with like totally non-optimized heroes, right? And I'm like, okay, can I get this achievement? Oh my gosh, I'm chasing this white whale of an achievement, right?
Yeah.
It's a great chase mechanism for late in the game or grind mechanism, right?
Yeah. I
And
am
one
an
way you do that
achievement I am an achievement hunter. So if they add that, like, yeah, they would definitely get me with that. Like,
yep. You can have the like bronze, silver, gold, right? Like very early on, you get the bronze achievement, but then like the platinum achievement is like, is it even possible?
yeah.
And there should be some that are variety, right? A good achievement system has variety. Some are just an insane grind. I can't even believe you did that for that long. Some are just really hard. Like, how do you have a team that can do that? Some are just unique, funny, or cool, right? Like, oh, you used a meme team or you used a whatever, you know what I mean? Like the first person to, maybe that achievement doesn't even show up until someone does it for the first time. And you're like, oh my gosh, there's an achievement for that.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing about achievement systems in general is that what I have found, they are not actually displayed well.
Okay.
Right? Like there's not a good place that I can go and really get a feel for like what has this person done? What's their bragging sheet look like? You know what I mean? Because it's like you say, oh, I got this awesome title, right? Oh, I got the best title ever. Like I can't believe it. I was the top. You get, let's say you get a unique title that's like for being top, one of the Vegas Six. Amazing.
Well, we do have a unique title actually. It's called
Okay,
I will have one called the Explorer. Yep.
And you'll be one of only two people in the game to have it?
Yep. Only me and
Amazing.
Papa Tez are going to have the Explorer title. Yep.
Love it. Here's the potential problem with that. Potentially, they have now just said to you, you might as well not care about any other title you're ever going to get for the rest of this game because you'll never get a better title than that.
Exactly, right? Like, people are talking about re-rolling accounts. It's like, I don't re-roll accounts anyway, but like, I could never. Right? Like my that title is worth way too much to me. I do care about cosmetics and titles and stuff. So I'm like, there's no way. Got the pride from my cold dead hands.
They need to have a way you to display an area or like that like you can show that, but also other titles, but also how many titles you have, how many exclusive titles you have. You know what I mean? Like some real thought to go into how do we display achievements in a way that is that people want to keep chasing them, right? Not like I got the one, same thing goes with a skin for a character. Well, I got that skin and it's the coolest skin ever and it was super exclusive, so there's no point in me ever chasing another one for that character, whatever.
Yeah.
So if there's a great system for that, that's huge. Now again, for me, if you collect, I don't know how you feel about this. Is this a place where the Great Hall could overlap? Like, if you collect enough achievements, you get like a Great Hall style bonus. If you
I would be perfectly fine with that. Like, I wouldn't want my title. Like, I don't want exclusive titles to count towards that amount, right? Yeah. And I would even be okay if eventually the Explorer title was. Maybe, no, I don't know. I kind of want it actually. It's fine. Get out of here. But like I think I would be perfectly fine if they did a Great Hall. Actually, I think I'd encourage them to do a Great Hall where every 10 achievements or so you get a point where you can put wherever you want to, right? Or medals or whatever. And I agree too, is there needs to be an accolade hall where I can click on a thing, I can choose what 10 titles I want displayed. I could choose what heroes I want displayed. And you click on my profile, you click on the accolades, like, hey, post your accolades. Well, here's my accolades, right? Here's the 10 titles I'm the most proud of, right? And then you can click in further, and then you can see all of my titles then, right? But I can give you a quick glance, like, hey, I did do the, I think what that'd be funny is beat Kronos only using his like kids, right? Like, because isn't Zeus like an offspring of Kronos, right?
Think so, yeah, that would be awesome.
And so that's the thing is that'd be a funny achievement, right? Is like only like get the Kronos highest.
Patricide, call it patricide.
Yeah, exactly, right. It's just cool stuff like that, especially with all this lore, man. Like there's so many cool, 100%. And that'd be 100%. Great. That'd be cool for low level guys who are like, yeah, I pulled these heroes, I don't know what to do with them, but I know the lore that like Shamash is the patron god of Gilgamesh, right? And so we know Gilgamesh caused a shattering, so it'd be cool if there was like a story event where if I brought Shamash into this team for whatever reason, where we should learn about why Gilgamesh did what he did, maybe I get an achievement called Guardian Angel, right? Where it's like, hey, he just brought Shamash to this fight, and it there's like lore significance there.
All right.
Sure.
So now check this out. You just wait. You're gonna love what I have to say next. Okay.
Hey, go ahead.
Okay. So everything I just said is things that games have tried to do, right? Like they haven't always done it well, but nothing. I didn't say anything earth shattering, and I still probably won't. But I'm going to take it a couple steps further. I will say, actually, before I go there, on that same one that lets you display your top 10 achievements, there should also be some sort of a progress for like total achievements summary bar, like how many total achievements do you have, things like that. Okay. All right. But now, so one thing, let's start with borders. Okay. So this is my idea. The first 100 people or 20 or 200 or whatever to get an achievement, or maybe to get the top tier of the achievement, get a like platinum border on that achievement. The next 1,000 get gold, the next 3,000 get silver, the next 5,000 get bronze. So you have the achievement, but there's also something for like, were you one of the first ones to get that achievement? It's just an idea. I think it would be awesome.
It would be awesome. That's a bit degenerate though, because I'm not sleeping. I'm not sleeping. But go ahead.
Right. Here's the thing: the way it works now. The way I would actually probably do this is like not every single achievement in the game is that way. There's just some certain special ones that are this way.
Yeah.
Maybe too much. It's just to start the game. There's like 500 achievements, and every one of it would be insane. I think. But if certain achievements had this, and here's the thing, right? This is almost like the Wandering Merchant thing, right? Like the first person who gets it, maybe they announce it, but I think the way they do it maybe is just the first person who gets it, right? The first person who gets it triggers an achievement. They get a platinum border, and a world announcement goes out that says achievement unlocked, 99 platinum frames remaining. And then like once that's done, 2,000 gold, and everybody's like calling their clanmates, dude, a new achievement just started. Oh man, we can still get platinum. I think you got the team for this,
Yeah.
That'd be amazing.
Yeah, it'd be, oh man. Yeah, that's fun. I mean, if they can do it, that's awesome. As long as the achievement doesn't close, and I think I'd be fine with like, okay, yeah, there's 1,000 platinum borders or whatever.
The achievement is still there. Everybody gets the achievement, but there's like a border, like the first, so
first 100, first 1,000, whatever, right? Whatever's appropriate.
You can figure out the numbers, and you could do just platinum border, or you could do platinum then gold then silver.
I think I like just the platinum more too, where it's like not people like when the race is over, it's over, right? The achievement's still there. You can still get it in the hall. You get your cool border if you were there during the initial rush.
Border and whatever. But I just think that would be a cool idea. So the other one, so my job is I'm in the Navy.
Okay.
And so one thing that we do, right, of course, on a military uniform, you have your ribbon or medal rack, right, where you have your medal and ribbon. So I think it would be super amazing if Godforge structured their thing something like that, right? Like your achievements each come with a little ribbon or a medal or something. And so like what you're actually displaying is like your top 10 medals or ribbons or whatever. And then take it a step further. In the long run, the merch store, you can actually buy a real version of those.
Oh.
So you go to a Godforge meetup and you can wear your ribbon rack.
All my accolades,
Or I can also get a framed picture that I put up on my wall that has like my like summary page or whatever like that.
That's pretty cool.
I know. It would be amazing. And here's what I'm thinking, right?
Yeah, go ahead.
And the one thing I was thinking, a t-shirt, right? So I get a t-shirt, my in-game name, Mathurian. If I want it, my real name, I can put it on there or not.
Sure.
Right? I can put my Pantheon cluster on there if I want to. And a lot of these I can put them or not, right? What day did I start Godforge? Who's my favorite hero? Put the pick on there, right? What are my total achievements? How many platinum, gold, silver, whatever? What are my borders if we do those? What's my rarest achievement? What's my favorite achievement? Whatever, things like that. And then I can do a t-shirt of that, right? And not everybody, but I bet most people who go to a Godforge meetup would buy one of those t-shirts and wear it there, right? Like you'd be like, wait a minute, I see your in-game name right there. You're Unbound Sage,
Yeah.
That achievement, that would be such a cool community thing, I think.
Yeah, I mean, some of you just like buying a shirt though. Like you could just design your own shirt and buy it, right? Like, but that sounds like a cool idea.
Well, the thing for that shirt is, so to me, I would in the long run, you would want it to where it actually like you go to their website and it like actually has like a database of you punch in your player ID and it pulls up and it pre-calculates stuff, and it like, it has like an official Godforge brag shirt format or whatever, and it lets you select from all your achievements, right? I mean, this is like the long run, but you could do it. And then like and you all go there, everybody's wearing the same shirt, right? The official one, and you can look, what's your favorite achievement, what's your coolest, rarest achievement, what's your name, how long you been playing, you can see like,
it feels like it should be like a Letterman jacket more than like a t-shirt, right?
Yeah, I mean, you could be, right? You could do it that way. So
yeah. With that though, I think we're just about out of time here, right? So any final remarks you have for the community before we wrap up?
I mean, I'm just super excited to get out there and play and enjoy, chat, and
yeah,
I'm excited to read the comments on the video. I'm just excited for the game.
Yeah. So, you guys, definitely leave a comment below. I'll let you know what you think about it. Monetization and otherwise. And with that, we will catch you guys in the next episode. Take care.
Oh wait, and Simon, I know you're watching. You got to leave a comment and tell us what you thought.
Yeah, no, Simon, you don't have to. I understand.
No, Simon personally.
Stop bullying Simon. Bye.